Good afternoon. My name is Pastor Gerald Higdon. I am a pastor in the Quad Cities Association in the middle of Illinois and Iowa. And I am part of MBTS, and our course right now is called the Developing Christian Leaders. And this assignment today is an interview recollection that I did the other day with Dr. Ray Gentry. Dr. Ray Gentry is the president and CEO of what's called the Southern Baptist Association Leadership Group. And it's affiliated with the Southern Baptist Convention, but it is a para-ministry, if you will. He took over that role in 2023 full-time. Prior to that, he was working with them for the last 10 years as an associate with them. So he has a long history, Ray does, with service to the Southern Baptist Convention, including roles as pastor and associate pastor and association leader, like I am today. And he also edited a book that now is a kind of like a go-to book for the associational leaders like myself. And it's called the Baptist Association, Assisting Churches in Advancing the Gospel. Ray is a native of Georgia, and he was born in Macon, Georgia, as I understand it, and he was raised in Warner Robins area near his family's farm. He graduated from Middle Georgia College, the University of Georgia, and subsequently the Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary in Fort Worth, Texas. He also holds a Doctor of Ministry degree from Southeastern Baptist Theological Seminary in Wake Forest, North Carolina. So he knows what he's talking about, and he represents well. I've known Ray for a long time, most particularly, though, in the last couple years as I have become an associational leader myself. But I've attended a few of his conferences where he was speaking, and I've always been inspired by what he has to say and the advice that he gives. He in his demeanor seems like it's caring, and whenever I see him, I feel that he's someone that I can trust. He's been there, and I appreciate that. But I reminded him the purpose of this interview, and I gave him a little bit of heads-up notice, and he was prepared when I called him. I complimented him on his book, of course, the Baptist Association, which caused me to consider him for this interview project. What follows now is a question and answer that I gave him back and forth in that interview. The first question was, what did you learn about leadership development from your own journey? To that, Ray had several points, but they all kind of lean back towards that he learned by observation. He likes watching people and learning from people. He observed many leaders over the years that he had grown to admire and emulate, pastors, professors, televangelists, if you will. And in that, he mentioned a couple of them. Pastor Ray Ricketts was one of his spiritual mentors. He said that was one of the first people who actually he worked under as an associate or apprentice in the ministry. But then through the years, there were several televangelists even that he made note of. Charles Stanley, Larry Burkett from Crown Financial Ministries, some of you may know that. Adrian Rogers, Jimmy Draper, John MacArthur, who recently passed away, sadly. And he mentioned a lot of other books, too. Michael Hyatt, Mac Lake, Dan Ryland, Al Mohler. And some of the books I have right here as part of this particular class and the class before it. Paul Tripp, he mentioned. Jason Allen, The Turnaround for MBTS. It's attributed to him. He's inspired by these kinds of people, and in that regard, it's him and I are similar in that respect. I'm inspired by them, and I'm inspired by him, and I think all together, when we come together, we inspire each other. But I've had the privilege to know him for a while, and it's been a blessing. But Ray had several opportunities to also learn experientially, he said, through members with apprenticeships, but he also developed some leadership practices because of the learning that he received himself. Through the years, Ray also had learned from a lot of the conference planners. And so that's one thing that SBCAL now does, is they put together a conference at the big SBC meetings. Recently we had the National SBC conference in Texas, and he had a group meet there, and it was very successful, as the feedback that I received conveyed. But SBCAL itself, that organization, began in 1960, and then it was revitalized. It almost died, but then revitalized in 2011, and then subsequently in 2015 he was asked to be the new leader of it, and he's been leading it ever since. So he's got about 10 years in service to SBCAL, and that's about as long as I've known them. And so Ray appreciates, though, good authors. Again, he mentioned Mac Lake, and he mentioned Al Mohler, and I even showed him, I got some of their books right here, and so when I asked him about if he's going to update, write another book for the association, or update the current book he has, he says not yet, but he's thinking about it. But I asked him about Mac Lake, because we just recently studied him on the multiplication effect. And he said that he liked Mac Lake's principles and practices, and I asked him, how do you apply those principles that Mac Lake presented for the leadership pipeline and such to a small church? What he thinks about that. And he said that a small church, or a bivocational church, has very distinct challenges, but it's not impossible. But in order to do it, you have to start small, he said. Taking a pastor out to breakfast might make all the difference in the world, but you have to have some intentionality, he said. He said both on the side of the mentor and the mentee, so that there's something to work with there. Intentionality, and that both must have a buy-in, that's the word he used, a buy-in perspective. And when you have that, then you're more apt to be successful. Ray stated that the SBCA ministry and this book was a miracle in the making. He says that the SBC organization, under the leadership of Kevin Ezell, sponsored the book and helped print out the first 10,000 copies, which they subsequently gave to the churches, and that's how I ended up getting them. But the book is just filled with great examples, and also a kind of a, if you will, in the back, helps for like starting an association, hiring someone to be that associational leader, interviews with them, and evaluations for them, and what they should get paid. All these things are great helps for me now as the association leader. So I so much appreciate that. I asked him, what are the qualifications for the leader of tomorrow? And to that he says, Christ-like character, people of conviction, trust in the inerrancy and sufficiency of Scripture, humility, confidence, and we must tend to be a leader of leaders. They must be a good listener and a learner, and have a heart of Christ. And that's the key, I think, for any good leader. But in that was a great little interview and a great little summary of what we covered. And it was a blessing to be part of that. And I look forward to seeing him again in August when we go to the Illinois Baptist State Association meeting. So with that, I asked him if he would close in prayer, for which he did. And I am blessed. Thank you very much.